For those of you just joining us,
yeah.
Patrick Beja has been watching Too Many Cooks for the first time.
I'm roughly at the midway point now.
Are you going to take a break?
Something
or are you just going to
tragic
keep watching
happened.
it throughout the show?
Actually, I have to take a break now because I want to leave this. Now I think there's going to be some sort of Wonder Woman transformation happening.
Oh, you're at that part.
But I paused just at this point. So
it will change the tension that you're experiencing somewhat to break, but it's okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I'd rather stop now and have 5 minutes left than keep going and have 2 minutes left.
Right. We'll revisit this at the end of Daily Tech News Show. Well, just giving a little ramp up for the live stream to catch us. Catch the wave.
Catch the wave.
Is that another thing that I have to find out about now?
No.
I'm sure it is, but I've forgotten.
Please
Is
catch
it an
the
Ocean
wave.
Spray commercial?
Please catch the wave.
Ride the snake. That's Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
That sounds dirty.
Saturday Night Live was
Good.
both so good and so upsetting to female tech reporters in two different parts of it.
This week's?
Yeah, they featured a female tech reporter from Glamour magazine who was about as, yeah. And I personally think the joke is on Glamour magazine for trying to have a tech reporter.
Yeah.
But
But
I can deeply understand and
if you
empathize
say
with it.
work for, I don't know, Smarket's watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
It was brutal. So yeah. Unintended consequences. All right. Have a good show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will. Don't tell me what to do.
You can't tell me what to
I
do.
refuse to
Like, have a good show.
Too many cooks. Too
Oh, it's going to be in your head forever now. I'm so sorry.
for now, I'm enjoying it.
Here we go. Ready for some donuts?
No? Born ready.
There we go.
Oh, damn it.
Here
You
we go.
got me, Merritt.
The Daily Tech News Show is brought to you by listeners like us. Go to dailytechnewsshow.com/donate to learn how.
Donuts.
No, Homer, that's donate. But I'm sure Tom wouldn't mind donuts either.
This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, December 8th, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me, Patrick Beja from Paris, France. DTNS contributor and independent podcaster at FrenchSpin.com. How are you, Patrick Beja?
Well, Tom, before we just started the show, I actually started down a path that gave me an experience I think I might be willing to pay for to have again at some point in the future.
I see.
Yes, you and Jenny mentioned the, I don't even know what to call it, the Too Many Cooks video.
That's all you need to say. Anybody who's
Right.
seen it knows exactly what you're talking about.
And anyone who hasn't seen it should
search for
go and enjoy that experience. But I had to stop midway through because we have to do the show. But that experience has been kind of different and interesting. And I can't wait to have the second half of that experience after the show is done.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about experience and the experience economy on today's show. There's an interesting article up on fortune.com from Adam Lashinsky about that today. But first, let's get to the headlines. 9 to 5 Max Mark Gurman says sources with knowledge of the plans this time tell him that Apple is planning an event to announce the next Apple Watch and a 4-inch iPhone. That event would happen in March. Gurman's got a great track record with this sort of stuff. The new watch would supposedly ship in April. Rumored features include front-facing FaceTime camera, Wi-Fi capability to reduce dependence on an iPhone connection, and Apple, if you remember, released the Apple Watch April 24th of this year. So that would make it essentially a year later for a new announcement.
Yeah, I think the current watch already has Wi-Fi capability, but this one would be expanded and would allow, as you were saying, the watch to be less reliant on the phone. Yeah, I mean, it's not a big surprise. I thought maybe on the watch they would skip a year to make
I thought
it a
so
little
too.
bit more. But yeah, I for one, I'm not going to be buying a second Apple Watch. The first one I'm not using is plenty. So,
Oh, you're one of them.
yes.
Apparently, there are some of those. As someone who had an Apple Watch and then decided to give it away as a prize at Nerdtacular, I might buy the next one, but I'm not sure.
We'll see. Maybe it will have some amazing functionality.
Yeah.
Apple also now sells its own smart battery case that works with the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6s. It can supposedly extend an iPhone 6s battery life to between 18 and 25 hours. The smart battery case has a lightning port, passive antennas, and shows its own iOS battery status meter on the lock screen. It sells for $99 and is available today.
I don't mind the bump in the back. A lot of people are calling that ugly. It's not as sleek as the Mophie, I suppose, but it's probably a little lighter. At least that's what a couple of people have said. This is one of those examples of Apple did a thing, and so that makes it news. But otherwise, if any third party comes out with this, everyone blinks their eyes and says, "Oh, another battery case."
It's somewhat surprising that Apple did this because it sort of defaces the beautiful design of their own phone, and it is not as sleek as their other non-battery cases. But I think they should have made a press conference for this and showcase the incredible, amazing technology that lets you use your phone for longer, than you ever could have before.
They should have taken at least 2 hours out of our day to explain the amazing battery technology. 25 hours of talk. Mozilla launched an ad blocker for iOS today called Focus. The app gives users control over ads, analytics, and tracking. They're pitching it less as an ad blocker and more as a control what people know about you, what kind of ads you see, because you can whitelist stuff. You can allow ads through. Focus uses the blacklist from the browser plugin disconnect.me and will be able to ID new trackers and any content that follows users from site to site. That's very similar to Privacy Badger on Chrome and Firefox. The Verge notes the app only works with Safari because of the way iOS manages content blockers. But it does seem, if you use Safari, to be a more nuanced and pretty high featured way of controlling tracking of your behavior.
Yeah, as much as the controversy about ads and ad blockers is not going to die anytime soon, I think when you approach it with protect your privacy rather than I don't want to see annoying ads, people think it's less controversial.
Well, and I don't actually use an ad blocker on my desktop browsers, but I use things like NoScript, Privacy Badger, etc., HTTPS everywhere, to control what information is given to sites, which sometimes acts like an ad blocker. And to me, that's the better way to approach it anyway, because I'm not about blocking ads so much as I am about blocking tracking and controlling what information sites know about me.
Makes sense. While still behind Asia and Scandinavia in speeds, the US is getting more gigabit internet providers. Google said today it's inviting Chicago and Los Angeles to explore bringing Google Fiber to those cities. That makes 18 cities being explored and 3 with actual service. AT&T announced Los Angeles and West Palm Beach, Florida, are now one of 20 cities. 2 of 20 cities, I guess, with gigabit internet. AT&T announced 36 new metro areas that will get the service next.
Yeah, so gigabit coming to more places. We actually have it allegedly in neighborhoods in Los Angeles, although AT&T makes it nigh upon impossible to figure out what those neighborhoods are unless you actually live in one. You just have to keep putting in zip codes. If anybody can find a good coverage map for these areas, let me know. That'd be awesome to find out. Google's announcement is getting more press, but it's actually just hey, we're going to talk to the governments. And they've been doing that with loads of cities for years now. And they still only have 3 actual markets with gigabit fiber. So I'm not going to get crazy excited about it yet, even though I live in one of these cities. John Ellsworth 3 wanted us to mention the news that Facebook has removed its apps Slingshot, Rooms, and Riff from app stores. Facebook told CNET that elements of the 3 apps have been incorporated into the Facebook app, so all that work wasn't totally for nothing. At least that's what they say. This seems to indicate Facebook is winding down its research and development effort called Creative Labs, although Facebook said it will still experiment with new apps and support initiatives like Paper.
Yeah, it's kind of, a lot of people have been saying, so is Facebook not trying and failing quickly and keeping, trying new features and ways to develop things? It doesn't seem like that's quite the case. Slingshot, Rooms, and Riff. I don't even remember what Riff was.
Rooms was chat.
Right.
Slingshot was like a Snapchat
photos that
thing.
and you would have to respond and blah blah blah. But it seems like those were kind of not slingshots, but long shots. So those were kind of all over the place. But I don't think it means Facebook is completely changing their philosophy. They're just dialing it back a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think their motto of fail faster is maybe modified to let's fail a little more slowly. But I think they still want to try things. I think they're like, let's throw a ton of things against the wall, see what sticks. And now they're saying, okay, we threw a ton of things. We saw a couple of them stick a little bit, moments, Paper. So now let's backtrack and see what we've learned. And I think that's responsible. That's a fine way to approach it.
Twitter is experimenting with timelines that aren't chronological.
What?
A Twitter spokesperson told Motherboard, "We're continuing to explore ways to service the best content for people. Only certain users were selected and many were confused." That's not part of the quote. Just to make it clear, his quote ended at the best content for people.
Yeah, I get that they experiment. It would be nice to let the people you're experimenting on know why this is happening. A little pop-up bubble or something. That's all I'm talking about. And maybe there was and they just didn't know it. I didn't have this happen to me, but I would hate this. And if they ever did make this a feature, I would want the ability to override it and reset the default to chronological. It already bothers me sometimes when they do what you missed, where they do the 3 posts from earlier and I don't notice. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's 3 hours old. What the hell?
Come on, okay. So what you missed or while you were away is basically 3 to 5 tweets, and you can just scroll right past them. I think it provides. I mean, I really understand the quality, the reason for the service that it does provide, and I think it does it well.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that service, that feature should go away. I'm saying I am so chronologically oriented that sometimes that feature messes me up for a half second. So I definitely don't want it to always be entirely out of chronological order.
And I think I'm with you. I think not having the chronological order on Twitter would be very, very strange. It's good that they're testing it. Maybe there are a better way of handling the timeline, which is possibly getting a little bit out of hand now that we're all following so many people. But to me, the while you were away feature kind of provides that service already, shows you the stuff you might have missed if you didn't look at your timeline for a while. And 5 is probably enough. Usually even between the 5, you're like, yeah, that one I could have lived without.
Amazon announced its Streaming Partners program today, which lets Prime users add streaming video channels for an extra fee. So you're already paying for Amazon Prime and the shipping and all of that. And now you can add Showtime, Stars, Comedy Central Stand-Up, Acorn TV, which has British shows, Smithsonian Earth, Ring TV for boxing, and LO Concerts, plus 14 other channels. Now you'll see that some of these channels are from A&E and AMC. Don't get too excited. A&E and AMC are not actually channels that are part of this program yet. Stars and Showtime each will cost you $9 a month after a 7-day free trial. Other channels will cost you around $4 or $5 a month. They also have free trials for those channels as well.
So first reaction is, I remember that I had a dream that I would pay for one subscription that would give me all the TV shows I wanted. And that dream is slowly fading away under the weight of reality that you can't just pay $10 and have all the TV, because it actually costs a lot more to produce than music. However,
this is what a la carte looks like.
Exactly. And I think it means it seems like it would be a little bit cheaper. At least you can choose the channels you want. Well, I guess you don't have AMC and others, but
well, you can choose the channels you want of the channels they offer
that are available. Yeah. Exactly. But
Showtime and Stars are the only traditional cable packages that are on here. Everything else is like Comedy Central. Stand-up is stand-up routines from Comedy Central. It's not the actual Comedy Central. So it's a little bit of a different spin on it. A lot of it has to do with movies, which kind of makes sense. I think it's intriguing. I'm curious what they learn, and I'm curious if they can pull in other services that have yet to launch. ESPN has made noises about offering a streaming-only version of its service. This seems to be a great way for ESPN to try out that game after their Sling TV experience, which is kind of their first attempt at that in a way.
But so first of all, this is, I guess what I was getting at is it looks like cable, and we don't like cable.
But you can add and remove channels at will, which you can't usually do with channel or with cable.
Agreed. It's just that if you want to have the 140 channels that you can get on cable, you're probably going to be end up paying a lot. But usually you don't want all of those channels, so
that's the argument, right? Yeah.
The question then becomes, how does it work? Like, do you have the channel playing live, or can you replay stuff, or how does the interface work?
Well, it looks like they have landing pages for the services with the ability to stream all of the different shows and movies that are available from those services. Okay. With Showtime, you can get a live feed in the Showtime app. I don't know if Amazon is making that available as part of this, but I would assume they are, because I think Hulu does.
Yeah. Well, more questions bring more questions. Mr. Anthropology noted that Mozilla. You were saying something?
I was about to ask another question just to be silly.
Oh. Well, for the benefit of the audio listeners, we stopped and explained the joke. Mr. Anthropology noted that Mozilla announced at a developer event in Orlando that it will stop developing and selling Firefox OS smartphones. Mozilla's SVP of Connected Devices wrote that to TechCrunch that company wasn't able to offer the best user experience possible.
Yeah, so they said, if we can't give you the best user experience, we're not going to do it. It seems like Mozilla is trying to focus, the name of their new ad blocking extension, their offerings. So they've been talking about spinning out Thunderbird. Now they're winding down Firefox OS for smartphones. I'm sad to see this go. I liked the idea of the Firefox OS as another competitor out there. And usually with open source, you can give it a little more time. This only launched in 2013. But I also respect the idea to say, if we're not going to be able to do it well, let's not do it.
It seems the most concerning thing for me is that it was web-based, right? It was that OS that was supposedly making everything from the web, and the apps, quote unquote, that you would have were actually web apps and web pages. And the fact that it doesn't work doesn't surprise me, because I honestly didn't think the usability would be comparable to that of app-based OSs.
Well, they were making HTML apps that you could still launch without an internet connection. It's not like everything had to go through a browser. So it worked like a regular smartphone, but I get what you're saying.
I agree. It did technically, on paper, it worked like a regular smartphone, but it seems that what that means is the web isn't yet able to compete with the versatility of native apps.
Yet.
I don't know if that's the case yet, but it seems to.
The Financial Times app is always the thing that I think of. It's an outlier. I get it. Most web apps are not that good, but Financial Times web app is great. Researchers at TUE in the Netherlands have developed a 2 square millimeter wireless temperature sensor powered by radio waves from the wireless networks it connects with. The prototype has to be 2.5 centimeters from the router right now, so it's not real practical, but they expect to extend the range to 1 meter within the coming year and ultimately to 5 meters. They estimate the sensors should cost about 20 cents to make. So suddenly Internet of Things becomes a lot easier to implement because it's cheap and you don't have to battery power all these sensors.
So for this one specifically, it's one sensor that does one thing, but I imagine others could work in that way as well. This becomes incredibly exciting for a lot of things because, yeah, just like you're saying, imagine a sensor that you don't have to change the battery or worry about basically forever.
Yeah.
It could open a lot of possibilities.
The Internet of Things,
for example.
That's all I'm saying.
Hyperloop Technologies Inc. announced Tuesday it has acquired 50 acres of land at the Apex Industrial Park in North Las Vegas to build its first test track. Hooray! The propulsion open air test will involve sending a custom designed linear electric motor down a 1 kilometer track at a speed of 540 kilometers per hour. And if you're wondering what a kilometer is or how much 540 kilometers per hour are, I will tell you, stop using that idiotic imperial system.
Oh, you just had to put that in there, didn't you?
I apologize.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
This is the first. This is the first company that's working on Hyperloop to get land. There's another company in California, though, that is close to getting land and wants to do tests. So we actually have competing companies, and there are others out there with designs to do this, trying to create Hyperloops. I mean, I know that the Hyperloop is feasible. It has never felt particularly practical, but it's looking like enough people are taking it seriously that aren't Elon Musk. That are we going to have a world ruled by Hyperloops someday, Patrick?
I don't know about a world ruled by Hyperloops, but certainly the fact that it just, exists or not exists, but it's being investigated seriously by different companies is kind of mind-blowing. It was, 2 years ago Elon Musk got up and said, hey, I think this might be a good idea, and all of a sudden we have multiple companies actually investing lots of money into making it a reality. This is kind of mind-blowing, and if it does work, 540 kilometers per hour, maybe it's for transporting people, maybe it's for other things, but it's kind of an insane speed.
That's not even their top speed. That's just the first test. Yeah. And it does take a while to get up to that speed. So yes, it can carry humans. If you don't know Hyperloop, it is the idea of essentially making a big pneumatic tube where you put people in a pod and then you shoot the pod through air propulsion through the tube at high speeds. And they say you could go Los Angeles to San Francisco in an hour.
That is an appealing concept.
Yeah. Well, folks, we love your appealing concepts. Let us know about them and vote on them at our subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. It helps us figure out what to put in the show every day, and that is a look at the headlines. As I mentioned, Adam Lashinsky has a write-up on Fortune today about the experience economy. The news hook for it is that Dick Costello, not Disc Costello, he's a whole different guy. He's really into 5 1/4 inch. Dick Costello, former Twitter CEO, has joined the If Only board of directors. If Only is a company that sells experiences. So the idea is that you can buy a chef teaching you how to cook. Well, that just sounds like a school, though. What about biking up Mount Tam with the inventors of the mountain bike? Now we're talking. They sell things from $20 up to $5 million. The $5 million experience is ballooning over Mount Everest, which they say you have a 70% chance of living through. The company was started by Trevor Traina, who says people's lives are pointing to experiences, not things. It's a very Silicon Valley attitude. They are opening a local marketplace in San Francisco for user-generated experiences to be sold, and a portion of the proceeds of every sale goes to a charity. In fact, they've even worked with people like Madonna on doing charitable experience selling altogether. This is not a brand new idea. B. Joseph Pine II and James H. Gilmore wrote a very famous book in certain circles back in 1999 called The Experience Economy. They were pulling ideas from Alvin Toffler's Future Shock, from Gerhard Schultz's Earl Gesellschaft, the Experience Society in German. And they're all saying that, look, there's commodities, and then you turn the commodities into goods, which are differentiated, distinctive, tangible things. And then there's the service business that uses the goods to provide you services. And experience is the next thing. The experience business changes the feeling customers get by engaging it, or as Trevor Traina says, it's selling memories. And the transformation business charges for the benefit of customers received by spending time there. So that's the more transformative element. Okay, all of this was considered baloney by a lot of people by the mid-2000s, but it's making a comeback, Patrick, and it kind of fits with what we're seeing as costs of certain things fall and companies start to go, well, that's just a commodity. I don't want to sell that anymore. This seems like a next step.
It seems like the experience part of every financial transaction every customer is having nowadays is becoming more and more important. And when you think of the experience economy as a side thing that is, separate from commodities and services, it might sound strange, like if you go to the website If Only and you book a balloon tour on Mount Everest, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure I want to do that, especially if I have a 70% chance of making it only. Maybe that's where the name comes from. If only 70% of you come back, then...
Well, what about spending $5,000 to hang out with Snoop Dogg while he records his talk show?
This is, something, I mean, it's definitely, there are experiences that can be very interesting for sure. And this is more of the kind of thing I think which would make sense. However, I would argue, actually some of them are saying this already, the experience economy can be part of the existing customer experience you already have. We're seeing more and more products being colored and priced up because they provide a different kind of experience. I would argue Apple is not just selling you hardware, they're selling you an experience, not just the experience of having, going into the store and having a different kind of relationship with the product and the brand, but actually having the experience of being the owner of an Apple product. To an extent, a lot of things that they're crafting around their brand make it so your purchase is a different kind of experiences, which is very intangible. And I don't think so a lot of controversy or discussions are happening around the specs and the hardware, but it is, I think it puts a name of that little different thing that we can't always define.
Well, and that's why when people criticize you, whether it's for an Apple product or a Microsoft product or a Sony product, and they say, well, what, the specs on that are just blah, 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 and all it does is to play games or surf the web. Why is that one better than mine? It's because of the perception of the experience. That is one of the things about the experience economy, from the little bit I've read here, is that you're always banking on, especially when you get to the transformation part of it, you're banking on the person feeling it was worth it and being transformed. And if that person isn't, sometimes you're not going to be able to get the money for it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you can, that's the important part of all of this. If you create a different kind of experiences that make people feel differently, then maybe you can mark up the price. And we're moving a little bit away from tech, but I'm going to bring it back to it in just a second. But in Paris, I'm sure you can see that in many cities, but we're starting to see bakeries that look like jewelry stores. That are incredibly, that make it seem luxurious, and they're going to make you pay your, croissant twice the price of the one next door, but you feel like you're buying the feeling that you're rich.
Yeah. Let me bring, I got a great way to bring this back to tech. In New York, they have a cereal store. I think it's in Brooklyn, and it's the same thing, right? Like, going and paying a bunch of money for cereal, who cares? But it's an experience because it's an entire store devoted to cereal by people who are passionate about cereal, and they collect weird cereals you've never experienced before. So you get to experience different kinds of cereals. Now, that may sound silly if you're not into cereal, but if you're a big cereal fan, suddenly that's something you want. That feeling that those cereal fans have when they go to that store, or that feeling that people who adore baked goods have when they go to the stores that Patrick's talking about in Paris, is what ISPs are craving on the internet when they say, look, we don't want to be just dumb pipes. We want to sell experiences. And the problem is that's all the internet is experiences. So if the person providing the platform starts selling the experiences, it causes a conflict of interest.
I will go even farther. And I will say that in some cases, the experience is the only thing you are able to sell. When goods are immaterial and infinitely copyable, some companies or some individuals might have only that to monetize. And I would even argue that you and I, Tom, are doing this very thing.
Yeah.
What we are actually selling isn't the product itself.
It isn't the file. Yeah.
Right. It's not the file. We're selling basically the experience. Of course, you know, the feeling that you're going to be glad you're supporting a product you enjoy, but also the experience, hopefully, yeah, the experience of feeling part of that community of people who are part of the adventure. I mean, I certainly feel it when I'm supporting a podcast or, you know, anything, Crash Course, for example. I feel good about myself, and I feel like I'm part of it's basically getting an experience when I'm supporting an artist or a creator I like.
Now, the hospitality industry, of all things, has been using this. Some ways they say they've been doing it before Pine and Gilmore even wrote their book back in ’99, or even the article that spawned the book in '98. They call it Exponomy, the experience economy. So there's your buzzword for today. But there's also a counter argument that has moved past it and saying, look, the value of all goods and services are co-created or co-produced through the interaction of consumers and producers. And I don't think that even necessarily contradicts what you've just been saying, Patrick. I think it actually underlines it and says, look, it's not selling experiences. It's actually bringing your customers into a collaboration with you in some respects. And I think that you have beautifully put what I've been trying to put for 10 years, which is that you aren't selling things on the internet, you are selling experiences, if you're selling anything at all. But you can't, DRM and copyright law have got it wrong, not because they're protecting intellectual property. I believe in intellectual property. They overprotect it as if it were a thing rather than an experience.
And I think, so first of all, let's never use the word exponomy ever again.
Okay, agreed.
That's, you know, let's agree on that right now. And I'm wondering, you know, basically the internet and technology are pushing the possibilities for those experience-based transactions more than they were before. Certainly, the you know, hotel and hospitality industry was selling this to an extent, and you know, some of them at least. But this is making the experiences available to more and more people for less and less money. We were talking about creators and artists and things like that. What about the virtual reality technology? Does this enable, because I've been saying for a while that basically what virtual reality does is that it digitizes presence in the same way that, you know, MP3s have digitized music and MPEGs and, you know, whatever. All of this has been digitized. Now, the presence is being digitized.
Now you're bordering on Strange Days or Total Recall territory, where instead of selling the idea of making a memory, you can replay the memory.
No, I don't really think I'm going that far. I really think that it's not about really the memory, but you can, if you are Snoop Dogg, you can. I think it's a lot more compelling if you're in the virtual presence of whoever you want to share an experience with. And virtual reality kind of does allow for this. So my point is, will that enable for more of that experience economy to develop? Because it's not just going to be, you know, Snoop Dogg who you're going to have a small webcam with, but maybe some smaller artist that is going to say, I know, you know, I have 1,000 true fans, and with all of you 1,000 true fans who support me on Patreon, we're going to be doing a meetup, and I'm going to be playing a little bit of music, and I'm going to be doing this and that. And this allows it in a way that is a lot more tangible than... Right? It's a lot more tangible.
I can do a real life meetup, which is going to be better. That experience is always going to be a premium. But you're right. You can now sell that experience to a wider number of people in a satisfactory way.
Yeah. And a meetup is not always practical. Just like, we couldn't distribute MP3s through CDs. So thanks to the internet, we can now do media at a very cost-effective way. If you want to do a meetup, obviously not everyone is going to be able to make it, blah, blah, blah. But if you have a VR headset, it kind of feels a lot better. So anyway.
Yeah, it's another step. Well, we used to not be able to communicate with each other unless we were in the same room. And then telephones came along, right? And it's that whole progression to VR makes it just that much closer to being able to be with someone in real life without actually being physically there.
And the point is, I think it further expands the possibilities of that experience economy, which creates financial, opportunities for people to monetize things that didn't really even exist before.
Well, Tyler in surprisingly Pleasant, New Jersey, has a relevant pick of the day for us. He was listening to our observations about the business model of DTNS on episode 2631, where I was explaining we effectively give away our content. And today we're talking about it's an experience. It made Tyler think of a slightly similar platform for sharing music called Noise Trade. The principle, as envisioned by the co-founder and president and singer and songwriter Derek Webb, is that artists give away their music for free for optional customer-determined donation, and that artists build relationships with their listeners and invite them to live shows where many small-time artists make most of their money anyway. In other words, they have the experience of the live show. It's a cool service, Tyler says. I've used it often, and also interesting regarding current discussions of intellectual property and distribution. I like seeing building relationships and community driving capitalism, says Tyler. But it's a great example of what you're talking about, Patrick. Mm-hmm. Sell that relationship.
To an extent, I guess we're stretching it a little bit, but it
could go even farther. I get that, yeah. Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. A couple of messages regarding our conversation yesterday. For one, Windy Tuwilla in Utah pointed out about the Enigma machine and how that was used in World War II, and the fact that sometimes they had to allow attacks to happen so that their knowledge of the Enigma code would not become apparent to the Germans. And Brandon says, while it's terrible to think that anyone would be harmed in any way, wouldn't it be better for the U.S. to quietly work with social media to track down terrorists rather than cutting them off completely? Also, Tyler wrote in and said, it occurs to me that some of the potential mishandling by government of encryption and censorship stems from not enough tech-oriented people working for the government. Government succeeds when they understand the problem. Consider how the FBI dismantled the mafia in America, in large part because they hired Italian Americans, Italian speakers, and former mafiosos. In contrast, they have fallen behind the curve of tech regulation. The government has been hiring tech people into it, and it does not seem to have as big of an effect, I suppose. But I do get where Tyler's going, and I like the idea of saying you need to get people who are very good at spreading a message and understand that message to combat an opposing message.
It's funny, I was mentioning something about this on Twitter earlier today. I don't know exactly how much the people in charge understand about computer science and the internet, but what some of the things that they are saying and that they are proposing suggest to me that they understand very little. To an extent that is, at least, that's my experience in France, to an extent that is cause for concern. You wouldn't be, happy with someone who is in charge of anything serious in the government if they don't understand the basics of supply and demand, very basic concepts of economy. You don't have to be an expert, but you should probably understand a little bit. And it seems to me that those basics, they don't understand those. And I don't know if it's a generational problem. I don't know if it's a pandering to after a crisis, but more and more, I'm concerned about this. And you can't have someone, make this grave decisions on anything today if they don't understand the internet and computers, at least the basics. So that's...
why not have the government put together a team of Islamic creators from YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat, etc., and ask them to go out and spread a good message It may sound ridiculously naive, but so was Enigma in World War II.
Yeah.
Levi Wallach, monthly Patreon backer, said, "Hey, just finished listening to your show from Monday, December 7th. Had a comment regarding Google's new reminder integration with Calendar. I think this is a great step in the right direction, but a very baby step. As Veronica mentioned, there are many other options out there. I wanted to suggest one that wasn't mentioned that some of your listeners might find useful. I've been using a Gmail plugin called Active Inbox for several years that uses Gmail labels and a custom overlay on top of Gmail to create task management functionality through email messages. It's based on a pared down version of Getting Things Done and allows you to set statuses, contexts, and due dates, but none of those are mandatory. In other words, although there's support for a highly structured GTD system, it's flexible enough for you to design your own framework. Now, it doesn't have apps yet, but he's hoping it'll come to iOS and Android. I guess that could have been a pick of the day, too, but it was directly related to what we were talking about with reminders. So good to pass along to people as well. It's a cool plugin for Gmail called Active Inbox. Only works on the web, though. Thank you, Levi, for sending that. And thank you, Patrick Beja, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. As always, it's a pleasure.
It is, as always, a pleasure. FrenchSpin.com, of course, the place to go to find Patrick's work. You can follow him on Twitter, twitter.com/notpatrick. What do you got going on lately?
I guess Facebook is there as well, facebook.com/notpatrick, and a couple of video game shows. If you aren't listening to The Instance with Scott Johnson, you should. We had a great roundup of the alpha version of Legion, the next World of Warcraft expansion. That speaks to a portion of your audience, but
sure,
I know some of them might be
interested. Speaks to me.
And
I'm just excited that it's not all hunter talk on The Instance anymore. And we got some mage representation up in that house. That's all I'm saying.
Thank you, sir. And if you're interested by Overwatch, the new FPS that is currently in development, also at Blizzard Entertainment, you might want to check out Overwatchers, the show that I do with Garrett Weinsroll at amove.tv, his site.
DailyTechNewsShow.com/support is the place to go if you're willing to help us continue to do this show. That is how we make the show happen. Patreon.com/DTNS for people who want to do it ongoing. PayPal for people who want a more flexible option or maybe just give a little bit at once. And the DailyTechNewsShow.com/store, which has mugs and T-shirts and even has a T-shirt that says Born Ready, just like Patrick always is. You're always born ready. You were born that way, so I guess that's...
Yeah, you don't really choose the way you're born. That's just the way I was born, so...
Yeah, can't do anything about it now. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. We want to change that to day 6, so back us on Patreon. You can catch us live at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. Visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back tomorrow with Scott Johnson. Here he is.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Bang.
Bang. Gunk.
Good show.
Woo.
Tight show. Awesome show. It was an experience.
It was definitely an experience. And you know what I'm going to do now?
What?
Watch the end of Too Many Cooks.
You do that while we look at titles.
Yeah.
We cannot deprive you.
Okay, so Dr. Payne went on a title bender. So we have Apple likes big batteries that it cannot lie. Those other providers cannot deny. I don't know why. Get your
when your slim success is in the case,
I know,
your battery
I had
life
it.
goes. Yeah. Something.
Bye. Get your ass to experience. Get your ass to experiences. Focus on the content.
Hmm?
Imperial Rebellion.
Okay.
Total VR Recall.
Hmm.
Twitter does the time warp again. It's just a jump to the left. The Internet of Things. ... all the dots.
Mm-hmm. The Experience Exchange. I like that one.
Yeah, I like the Experience Exchange, actually.
Welcome to the Experience Delivery Network. That's the new name. That's our new name. The Experience Delivery EDN.
Todd's already got the URL. Hyperloop.
Hey. Hey,
Yeah.
Berloop.
I don't know.
Nothing's getting you?
Well, there is too many battery cases to.
Loses the rhythm a little
Yeah.
somehow, doesn't
I
it?
guess it would be too many bats, but.
Too many case.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Okay, you know what? Watching this stopping in the middle
Is
has
weird.
made it extremely strange.
I think we should call it Exponomy.
Yeah, I actually just saw that, and that looked really good.
And that'll be the last time you ever hear me say it.
Exponomy. P.S. My dog went to Matt's work today, and oh my gosh, it's causing an internet ruckus.
An internet ruckus.
Like Jax is all over other people's Facebook, which is really weird.
That's great.
It's great.
Jax is expanding his experience.
He is. Jax is a rentable experience. That's how I can make money.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
Rent
it's
your
not
dog.
rent. It's like experience Jax.
Experience Jax.
You too. Have you seen him on Facebook? You too
Yeah.
can experience Jax.
Seriously. Like, I feel like he would be such a fun experience.
You can only experience Jax in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
There's no virtual Jax.
You
Yet.
could call it Uber Jax.
The Uber for dogs.
Yeah.
So there we go. I'm not going to say the name because I said I'd never say it again,
Yeah.
but that's the name.
That's the name.
Is Patrick still watching too many?
Yes.
I'm not sure what I'm watching anymore.
It gets so dark.
Yeah. It takes a turn there towards the end. Oh, crap. We need to mention Mike's book.
Oh my
Thank
gosh,
you,
we
T2.
do.
For reminding me. I need to put that in the template, I
Yeah.
guess. The Internet is Like a Snowblower and 200 Other Things I Got Wrong About Tech This Year is available now on Amazon. We're actually going to got plans to put it in the DTNS store
Yes.
as well. And you can get it for a mere $0 in Kindle Unlimited or $2.99. So it is all of the Saturday posts that Mike Range, Saturday evening posts. He does post them on Saturday evening, doesn't he? That's awesome. From dailytechnewsshow.com. So if you think Mike's funny, which you should if you're human and you breathe, then you should go buy The Internet is Like a Snowblower and 200 Other Things I Got Wrong About Tech This Year. I hope he makes this an annual event. That would be fantastic.
I can't believe I haven't gotten my copy yet. I wonder if I accidentally zapped it'd be in Amazon, right?
Well, he'll send you if he sends you a
Yeah.
copy, he'll send you a link that you can redeem. So you have to look for an email from him.
I wonder if it got zapped accidentally because Justin already got his.
Yeah, I got mine too.
Yeah, so maybe it got zapped. Dunked.
So funny. It's like
funny.
it makes my day when I see the link
I
come
know.
through. He's such a good writer.
I know it.
And it's got a Scott Johnson cover.
Does
Right?
it?
No, it's Len. It's Len.
It's
Sorry.
Len.
Oh, don't make that mistake.
Yo.
It's got a Len Peralta cover. So you get Len Peralta art in your ebook, and then you get the ebook, and it costs you $3. You got $3. It's nothing.
Oh, this is great. Look at that great cover.
Okay,
Yep, it happened.
I am speechless. The second part is definitely not as something as the first. I mean,
Yeah.
the half. It's
I feel like it suffers from being not watched
in one go. Yeah,
in one go. Yeah.
because it sort of lose the fun portion and what the fuck portion of the beginning, and then it's just creepy and depressing and weird.
And it's kind of weird to jump back in right there,
Yeah.
right there at that turning point.
It's yeah, they're all like that though. That's what makes them so funny.
Oh, there are more of those things?
If you go to YouTube and search for Adult Swim is a programming block on Cartoon Network.
What do you call euros? Like $3? Is there a short term for euros? Like rose?
Well, in French there is, but not in English that I know of.
Well, what is it in French?
Balle, which is balls or bullets, depending on...
Balle?
Yeah, balle. 3 balles or
Trois balles.
5 balles or...
Balle. Yeah. See, but then you have to actually say it right, and then it sounds weird if you're English.
Yeah.
If you're speaking English. I'm not English.
So I'm gonna watch a little bit of the videos of the Adult Swim channel, Roger. We'll see what happens.
It's,
Not now, but at some point.
It's pretty crazy.
Okay.
There's some really wild and funny stuff. It takes a certain kind of...
Well, Rick and Morty are Adult Swim, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, some of it's just good adult cartoon.
But they have a specific list of these late night advertorial.
Oh yeah, they make these little one-off things. Yeah.
So ICU suggested Icelandic Ultra Blue, which I'm
Yes,
gonna watch.
that one's pretty funny too.
Okay. I'll watch it later. It's 10 minutes again. Thanks, ICU. I'll check it out.
Oh, having a new phone.
Well, you got a 3G. What was that?
I know that was weird, right?
It's always whenever it connects by edge, I hear that.
I know. I'm on wireless. I don't know why I would do that.
And Patrick, have you guys seen the Book of Christ one on Adult Swim? On that YouTube channel, there's a part of it that just has me in stitches all the time.
I guess I've discovered a new rabbit hole of internet
Yep.
things.
We have done you a service
Terrible.
and disservice
Yeah.
at the same time. Your internet
many
knowledge is now more complete, but your
Yeah,
life
I think
has lost valuable minutes.
Has it though?
Well, a life lived without watching too many cooks is not a life well lived.
You know, if
Is
you
it though?
take the enjoyment out of it, I'd say it's worth watching.
TV worth watching.
Wait a minute. Was that Tech? No, that wasn't Tech TV.
No, it wasn't. Isn't it PBS or something?
Oh, for
I thought that was TV worth paying for every year during the fundraising drive. Donate $500 now, and we'll give you a complete VHS set of Star Wars.
Whoa, it did it again.
So what title did you land on?
The unsayable word. The word we agreed never to say again.
Ah, excellent.
It begins with EX, actually. Yeah.
Oh, this keeps happening. This
Is
the bug.
not that the eternal trade-off of the internet, says Tinvek? Knowledge for time? Is that not the currency upon which the experience economy rests?
I don't know that it is knowledge.
Is it
Might
though?
be entertainment. Might be
Information?
well,
in the
ideally,
classic sense.
it's knowledge or information, but
It's a fair point. Well, our episode, who we can never refer to by its name now, is
the one
posted.
that shall
The
not be.
episode that shall not be named. Thank you all for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. Goodbye.